Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. When summarizing the history of ancient Chinese feudal dynasties, people have noticed that these dynasties seem to struggle to surpass the 300-year mark. Even the long-standing Han and Song dynasties were divided into two separate periods. As for the most recent feudal dynasties, the Ming and Qing, though their downfall followed similar patterns, the fate of their last royal members differed drastically. After the fall of the Ming dynasty, the remaining royal family members faced a dual purge by both rebel forces and the Qing army, leaving almost no survivors. Even those who managed to escape the chaos, like the so-called Third Prince Zhu, who barely survived until the Kangxi era at the age of 75, ultimately could not escape the fate of having his entire family executed. In contrast, the fall of the Qing dynasty was different. As the final curtain of the feudal era, no new feudal dynasty arose after its collapse. As a result, most members of the Qing royal family were spared, including the last emperor, Puyi. Although Puyi could hardly be called a historically accomplished emperor, his life was one of the most legendary and turbulent among all emperors in history. There have been numerous cases in history where commoners became emperors, such as Liu Bang, the founding emperor of the Han dynasty. There were even emperors who were born in captivity yet eventually ascended the throne, like Emperor Xian of Han. However, Puyi's case was unique. He was dethroned and later managed to live a peaceful life as an ordinary citizen. In his memoir The First Half of My Life, Puyi recalled the awkward moments he experienced as an emperor. He ascended the throne at the age of 3, while his biological father, Xifen, served as the regent. However, in a surprising twist, he did not meet his father in person until 3 years after his enthronement. That day, he was reading Mencius, meeting King Hui of Liang in his study, when he suddenly heard that his father was coming. He became so nervous that he couldn't continue reading properly and kept making mistakes. Even more amusingly, Xifen was even more anxious than him. He didn't dare to speak to his son as a father, but instead adhered strictly to the etiquette of a subject before his ruler. He hastily said, "Good, good. Your Majesty, study well." Then, he left in a hurry. The entire interaction lasted less than 2 minutes. This incident revealed that not only did Puyi never truly experience the authority of an emperor, but he also never felt the basic warmth of fatherly love. Though he was placed on the throne at the age of 3, seemingly in a position of supreme power, in reality, it was an unfortunate fate. Nevertheless, compared to the last emperor of the Ming dynasty, Emperor Chongzhen, Puyi's ending was far more fortunate. In 1644, when Chongzhen realized that the dynasty's downfall was inevitable, he chose to take his own life on April 25, by hanging himself from an old pagoda tree on Wanshui Hill, later renamed Jingshan. It was not until the 12th year of the Xuanzhi reign, 1655, that the hill was officially renamed Jingshan. Later, in 1955, Jingshan Park was opened to the public. Then, in 1959, Puyi was granted amnesty and regained his freedom. After his release, Puyi once visited Jingshan Park with Shen Zui and others. When they reached the tree where Emperor Chongzhen had hanged himself, Puyi suddenly stopped and stared at it for a long time. His companions, not knowing what he was thinking, also stood still and silently observed. After a while, Puyi let out a deep sigh and said, "In the past, no one would have allowed me to come here." The past he referred to was clearly the time when he was emperor and later when he still resided in the Forbidden City after his abdication. Standing before that tree, Puyi might have been reflecting on his tumultuous life, overwhelmed with emotions. After a moment of silence, he continued, "The last emperors in Chinese history mostly met tragic ends. That's why Emperor Chongzhen personally killed his own children, to spare them from further suffering. I, however, have been given a good ending. should really celebrate. In fact, after receiving government amnesty, Puyi rarely spoke about his past voluntarily. Such moments of candid reflection were extremely rare. His words surprised everyone around him. Indeed, Puyi's life was filled with ups and downs. But in the end, he was fortunate to have lived in a better era. Unlike Emperor Chongzhen, who was driven to despair and ultimately took his own life. The stark contrast between the fates of these two last emperors is truly thought-provoking. According to relevant records, Shen Zui, courtesy name Shui, was born on June 3, 1914, in Xiangtan, Hunan. He was a lieutenant general in the Republic of China Army. During the Republic of China period, he served in the Military Bureau of Investigation and Statistics, commonly known as the Juntong, for a long time and was highly trusted by Dai Li. He was regarded as one of the four great Vajras and, along with Zhou Yanghao and Su Yuanju, was known as one of the three swordsmen of Juntong. He held multiple important positions, including Major General Director of the General Affairs Department of the Juntong Bureau, Director of the Yunnan Station of the Ministry of National Defense's Bureau of Confidentiality, and Lieutenant General, Guerrilla Commander. In 1960, Shen Zui became part of the second batch of government amnesty recipients and was released on November 28. He was the only Juntong senior officer among the first two groups of pardoned individuals. After his release, he, along with Du Yuming, Song Shilian, Wang Yawu, Chen Changjie, as well as Puyi and Puji, served as historical consultants for the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, CPPCC, and the Literature and History Materials Committee. According to Shen Zui's daughter, Shen Meiwan, on March 17, 1946, Dai Li's plane crashed over Nanjing. At that time, the Juntong Bureau had not yet received confirmation of the incident. Chiang Kai-shek initially believed that Dai Li's plane might have crashed in an enemy-controlled area and ordered Mao Renfeng, Deputy Director of the Bureau of Confidentiality, to send a high-ranking officer along with medical personnel to conduct a rescue mission. However, at a Juntong Bureau meeting in Chongqing, no one was willing to take the risk of carrying out this mission. In the end, only Shen Zui, out of gratitude for Dai Li's patronage, resolutely volunteered to go. However, before the operation could be launched, the news of Dai Li's fatal accident was confirmed, and the rescue mission was cancelled. Shen Zui then participated in handling Dai Li's funeral arrangements. Shen Zui was not only a master spy, but also highly skilled in martial arts. He always carried a cane, not due to any physical disability but as a concealed weapon for self-defense. It was said that even when faced with 7 or 8 robbers, he could easily fend them off using just his cane. Additionally, he possessed incredible strength. He never needed tools to crack open walnuts and could still crush them with his bare hands even in his 70s. Despite being a key figure in Juntong, there were individuals Shen Zui feared facing, including Ke Shufang, Chiang Kai-shek, and Qian Dajuan. Ke Shufang, the wife of Zheng Jimin, frequently extorted money and was insatiably greedy. Chiang Kai-shek had strict requirements regarding the appearance and discipline of his subordinates, while Shen Zui had an energetic personality and found it difficult to conform. As for Qian Dajuan, his seniority and opposition to Juntong made cooperation particularly challenging. Shen Zui eventually passed away on March 18, 1996, in Beijing due to illness, bringing an end to his legendary life. Additionally, Puyi, whose childhood name was Wuge, was the last emperor in the history of China's feudal dynasties. He was the great-grandson of the Daoguang Emperor, the grandson of Prince Chun Yishuan, the nephew of the Guangxu Emperor, Zetian, and the eldest son of the regent Prince Zaifeng. His mother was Lady Yulan of the Soan Guwaljia clan. Puyi ascended the throne twice in his lifetime. The first time was in 1908, when he became emperor at the age of 3, with his father Zaifeng serving as regent. The second time was on July 1, 1917. But this attempted restoration lasted only 12 days before it was overthrown. In 1911, the Xinhai Revolution broke out, marking the end of the Qing dynasty's rule. On February 12, 1912, Puyi was forced to abdicate, officially ending the Qing dynasty. However, according to the preferential treatment conditions for the Qing imperial family set by the Republican government, he was allowed to continue residing in the Forbidden City and enjoy certain privileges. This arrangement did not last long, as in 1924, Feng Yuxiang launched the Beijing coup, completely abolishing Puyi's imperial title and expelling him from the palace. Puyi was married 4 times in his life and had 5 wives in total. His final marriage took place in 1962 when he wed Li Shuxian. He also wrote his autobiography, The First Half of My Life, published in 1964, which detailed his transformation from emperor to ordinary citizen. His dramatic life story has been adapted into various films and television series. Most notably the 1987 film The Last Emperor, which won multiple international awards, including the Academy Awards. Notably, historical records suggest that Puyi struggled with his studies. He frequently missed lessons due to illness and often ordered eunuchs to inform his teachers that classes were cancelled. His interest in reading was far less than his fascination with the flora and fauna in the Forbidden City, such as the ancient cypress tree outside the Yuqing Palace. He often squatted on the ground to observe ants, becoming so engrossed that he sometimes forgot to eat. Later, he developed an interest in crickets, earthworms, and other small creatures, even instructing servants to bring in large porcelain basins to raise insects. Faced with such an unmotivated student, his teachers tried various methods. Every morning, eunuchs would loudly read textbooks outside his bedroom to reinforce his memory. Additionally, when Puyi greeted the Empress Dowager, she required him to recite the lessons he had learned the previous day. Despite these efforts, his academic progress remained slow. He never mastered Manchu and even struggled to recognize its alphabet. To address this, the palace introduced a companion study system, where noble children were assigned to study alongside him. This method helped him sit quietly in the study room, but even so, his learning progress remained minimal. In 1959, Puyi was released as part of the government's special pardon program for war criminals. He later became a literary and historical researcher for the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, CPPCC, gradually integrating into ordinary society. On October 17, 1967, he passed away in Beijing due to uremia at the age of 61 and was initially buried in Babaishan Cemetery. In 1995, his remains were relocated to the Huang Royal Cemetery in the Western Qing tombs, resting alongside other members of the Qing imperial family. Puyi's life was filled with extraordinary twists and turns. From emperor to prisoner to an ordinary citizen, his experiences bore witness to the dramatic transformations in Chinese society, making him a uniquely significant historical figure. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.